All right, guys, welcome back to Moon Knight Adventures. So today, hopefully, we can finally get these fenders swapped out. All right, guys, so I mentioned that hopefully we can get the fenders swapped out. So I said it because I'm still waiting on the front fender flares. For some reason, they didn't get delivered yesterday. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna press forward today with getting this stuff knocked out, hopefully. And hopefully in the middle of the process, they'll actually deliver the front fender flares. But at least for now, I can go ahead and get the liners in, the rear fender flares, and I can show you what that guy, or what that entails. And then I'll just catch back up with you guys in a video tomorrow or something if I absolutely have to on getting these front ones done. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so here's some of the basic tools that you're gonna need. For sure, you're gonna need 8 and 10 millimeter sockets. Depending on how much you're actually trying to take apart, if you're gonna take the wheel and stuff off, that allows more space, so you could use an impact. Just in case though, I went ahead and got a ratchet, I'll get an extension for it. Got a screwdriver, not so much for this process, but because I've got the rock lights, I do need additional help with that part. And then they recommend like a panel tool or something to pull the push snaps in. In my case, since I don't really have anything like that, you can makeshift with some pliers or some snips to be able to get back there and help pry it out. And then Allen wrench bits in my case, again, for the rock lights. But that's pretty much the gist of it. So let's go ahead and jump in. We'll start taking these liners and fenders off. All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and start with the front fender and the fender liner. So this is where a couple of the sockets are gonna come in handy, as well as obviously a bunch of push tabs that are inside the liner area. So like off the bat, we've already got a couple bolts up here. You've got push tab there, one over here, a couple more back here. So we'll go ahead, we'll start with those. I'll take the rock lights off after kind of everything's disassembled and pulled off, so it's easier for me to access the cord and stuff to disconnect. All right, so I know it's a little dirty, but you can look, we've got a push tab here. We've got a bolt there, which I believe those should be 10 millimeters. Yeah, we got 10 millimeter bolt there. We've got another 10 millimeter there, a push tab in the back there. We have another 10 millimeter there, as well as 2 push tabs down there. So we'll go ahead and get started with those and then press from there. All right, so next up we got one more bolt that's hidden up at the front here. There we go. It's another 10 millimeter. And that actually is connecting part of the fender strip straight to the actual body of the Jeep. So we'll get that one unbolted, and then we'll double check, make sure there is another brace right there, but this one does not have a bolt in it. So I'll go check the back and unbolt anything else from there, and then we should be able to start ripping the fender off from there. All right, so with that being said, I've got the last bolt out. I checked the back, I didn't see anything as of now. So at this point, this should be able to release, start popping all the snaps out. Keeping in mind, because you got the fender lights, there is a connection in here. Since we didn't take the liner out, we don't have access to it. So in this case, it's just gently pulling it out. You don't want to actually pull it away or go to throw it off to the side just yet until you've popped enough off where you can get inside and disconnect those wires. So not even 5 minutes to get the front flares off, honestly. If you've got the right tools, you know exactly what you're looking at. It doesn't take that long. So yeah, driver's side was learning for me since I hadn't messed with this, but passenger side so much easier after you get, there's 5 bolts total. So keep that in mind, that you've got your 3 that are going on the outside of the fender liner, and then you have the 2 up here. that you have to kind of pull the fender liner away. This very front one is kind of exposed, you can see it better, but pull the liner back, you'll be able to see the second one a lot better. It's kind of just behind the front fender lights. And then yeah, after you get all the tabs and the bolts out, everything should just pull out just fine. You will break these. It does not matter if you're putting aftermarket fender flares on that you break these, but at the same time, if you're ever going to put them back on, I mean, you can go on Amazon or wherever else and just order replacement clips and you'll be just fine. So same thing with the push tabs. I just clipped mine to make it easier versus trying to pop them out. So other than that, nothing else to it. Let's get on the rear fender flares. Little bugs. So I've got about halfway out now, and I can already see the line connection here. So still can't quite get to it, so I'm gonna finish popping the rest of these out real quick, and then we'll disconnect that connector. There we go. All right, easy as that. So the connector is here more on the body of the Jeep. It's completely tucked underneath here. All right, so working on the rear fender liners now. We've got a push tab here, there, another one down here. And then up top, you've got one there, and you've got one on this side. So all total, you got about 8 push tabs, because you got 6 along the bottom and you got the 2 up top. So with this, you shouldn't have any bolts in here to actually hold the fender flare in place. So what we're gonna end up doing, I'll pull out all those push tabs I mentioned. Again, the same thing. If you're trying to keep the liners or anything, then you do have the plastic rivets around there that you're gonna have to drill out to separate that from the fender flare itself. But if you don't have to reuse it, if you're using aftermarket, you don't have to worry about this. Just get your 8 push tabs out of here, and you should be able to just separate everything from the body. The other note I will say, because I've messed with these a bit for doing my rock light install, these are not like a solid sheet of metal where those few are, because they're more of just a metal tab. I'll show you once I get everything off what I mean, that you don't want to rip the liner too hard trying to separate and get those push tabs out. So if you can, it's better just have a clip, just clip them out. So this is what I wanted to show you. I was talking about that these are just little metal tabs down here that you don't want to actually pull the liner too much. I just give them like quick little jerks enough to kind of pry the push tab out a little bit so I can wedge my snips or something underneath there to be able to clip that head off. So this one, this one, this one, you do have a 4th one back here that are not, like I said, they're just the tabs. Everything else seems fine for the most part, and they're just, again, quick little disconnects as far as clipping those tabs out. So other than that, that's it for that. Let's go hit the other side. So I will tell you, just as a little tip, if you're anything like me, when you get done ripping these off and you have a ton of these tabs that are still in, the easiest thing that I found is using like a pair of needle nose pliers or something to be able to grab that button part and kind of pull it back. Taking your flathead or anything small like that, wedge it in there to push the tabs that are still holding this in place to help undo it is a heck of a lot faster. breaking off is not as easy as just doing that. All right guys, so that ties things up for the fender flare removal. So I'm gonna go ahead and close off with this. I'll do one segment that's strictly for removing these fenders, and then I'm gonna do a whole different segment as far as the install of the fender flares and the fender liners from Best Top that I've got. So with that being said, hopefully this was helpful for most of you, especially since some of the other videos I saw were a little bit different from what I encountered on here. So more than likely they did some slight modifications between the 18s versus the 21s, and at the same time there could have been a slightly different fender style from what I had versus some of the videos I saw. So hopefully this one tailors to you guys a little bit better in your situation, or at least gets you on the right path as far as removing your fender flares. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and sign out, and we're gonna start the install next. Let's take it easy.